episode of Classic Dallas Cowboys Talk with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ is Lord. Let's not waste no more time, shall we? Let's get right to it. So, today I wanted to discuss a few things, okay? The first thing is Bill Bates. The story of how Bill Bates made the team as an undrafted free agent, okay? And so, I read it in Jeff Pearlman's book, Boys Will Be Boys. The Cowboys were telling everybody, every semi-talented football player that would be 11th round pick. And so, so Jeff Pearlman wrote in his book, The Legally Blind Kicker, 11th round pick. The 3-pack a day smoker, 11th round pick. So, Bill Bates said when he signed the contract, he realized that he wasn't that important because there were like 100 other 11th round draft picks on the Dallas Cowboys too. But he made an impression on Coach Landry in training camp when he just absolutely laid out Tony Dorsett. He just absolutely laid out Tony Dorsett, and Tony Dorsett got so pissed at Bates, and no, that's what the coaches were. No, that's what the coaches were looking at. You lay out one of our best players, and you didn't even bat an eye. So so he made it through training camp. He made it through training camp, and then came time for the cuts. Okay, so the Cowboys had a veteran cornerback by the name of Benny Barnes. Okay, and Benny Barnes had been with the Cowboys since 1972. Okay, and so it came down time for cuts. So Bill Bates walked in with his playbook or whatnot, and the players, and a lot of the players were wearing like black armbands. Okay, they were wearing black armbands, and Bill Bates walked in and said, "Hey, what's going on here? Why is everybody wearing black armbands?" And then I believe it was Ed Too Tall Jones who said, "We are protesting the cutting of Benny Barnes." Okay, so Bill Bates, being the smart guy that he is, immediately realized that, hey, Benny Barnes just got cut for me. Okay, so they cut Benny Barnes, who had been around since 1972. They cut him for Bill Bates, okay, which turned out to be a pretty good decision. 15 years, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler in 1984, one of the best special teams players the Cowboys have ever had, or one of the best special teams players in NFL history, probably next to Steve Tasker. Okay, probably next to Steve Tasker. Yeah. So he also played for Tom Landry, Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer. He did. So yeah, turned out to be a pretty good session. He did tear his ACL in the 1992 season, the championship season, against the Seattle Seahawks. He did tear his ACL and was out for the year, which meant he didn't play against Philadelphia in the playoffs, San Francisco, or Buffalo. So Super Bowl 28 was his first appearance in the Super Bowl, and so he was hyped to say he was hyped to say the least. But yeah. So Bill Bates, 15 years, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowl holder. Salute, sir. Now, so there are stories that are not funny at a particular time, but when you look back on them, they're very funny, okay? So it's 1993, okay? And the Dallas Cowboys are going for a repeat. And they acquire a linebacker from the Chicago Bears named John Roper, okay? And so I believe John Roper had played in one game. If I'm not mistaken, John Roper had played in one game, okay? And so after the one game he played in, they were playing San Francisco at Texas Stadium the following Sunday, okay? So as they were preparing for San Francisco, John Roper was in a defensive meeting, okay? I believe he was in a defensive meeting or a special teams meeting. Can't remember. But he was in the meeting, okay? And Kenny Gant was in there too, okay? So, and Kenny Gant said that he had a night on the town the previous night. And so, he was top hired. So Kenny Gant was sort of like going like, in the meeting. So in walks Jimmy Johnson. Okay. So in walks Jimmy Johnson to the meeting. He walks into the meeting and Jimmy sits directly in front of Gant. Okay. So he's sitting directly in front of Kenny Gant. And so Johnson turned around, looked back, turned around, looked back. Then he turned around one more time, just to confirm he saw what, just to confirm what he thinks he saw. Okay. And so Jimmy Johnson said, hold on, turn on the lights. John Roper. Okay. And see, before that had happened, when Jimmy Johnson was turning around, checking to see, the ironic part about that is Kenny Gant thought that Jimmy Johnson was looking directly at him. Kenny Gant thought Jimmy was looking at him. Kenny Gant nodding off, okay? But Jimmy Johnson was looking at John Roper the whole time, who was sitting about 7 or 8 rows behind Kenny Gant. Okay? And he said, John Roper. He said John's name a few times. He didn't wake up. John was in the meeting going like, and so he said John Roper's name a couple of times. He didn't wake up. Then he said his name a few more times. And John Roper woke up. Cut John Roper on the spot right there. And so Kevin Smith described why he was asleep. And he said, man, John Roper just had a kid. And he just needed to get a little bit of sleep. Okay? But no. Jimmy Johnson cut him on the spot. And so Jimmy was asked, well, what would you do if you walked into a meeting and you saw Troy Aikman sleeping? And Jimmy said the following. He said, Well, what I would do is very simple. I would walk over to Troy, tap Troy on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, Troy, wake up." Then I go back to my seat and sit down. So, yeah. Yeah, so, and Jimmy Johnson actually made this clear that Aikman, Irvin, and Smith will be treated differently. Okay. Jimmy Johnson once also said this. He said, "I'm going to be fair, but I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to treat each one of you the same, differently. If you come in, work hard, do what we ask, and you're a good player, you're at the top. Okay? If you don't do all these things, if you don't do what we ask you to do, you're at the bottom." So, yeah. So yes. So I guess John Roper was at the bottom. All right, that's it for Classic Cowboys Talk. I'm Sean Farrell. Peace out, y'all. God bless.